You're tuned in to the ProPricer Power Hour, the only podcast dedicated to giving GovCon professionals an inside look at the tools, trends, strategies, and best practices shaping the government contracting industry. Trusted by more than 400 organizations worldwide, ProPricer is the industry-leading government proposal pricing software built to produce solutions to maximize efficiency and accuracy. You're listening to the Peer-to-Peer Speaker Series, hosted by ProPricer. Today, veteran government contracting consultant and CEO of Think Acquisition, an independent training, development, and consulting firm helping develop the next generation of acquisition professionals, speaks market research magic in the pre-award stage with ProPricer's Natasha Mendez. Listen in as they discuss the analogy of the quote-unquote Swiss cheese in government pricing.
As we talked about a couple of days ago when we first talked over this interview, we were looking at your video for market research magic, and it applies heavily to the pre-award process. So would you be able to tell me just a little bit about market research, why it's important to the pre-award process?
There are two primary reasons, in my opinion, that market research is important to the pre-award process. The first is the very first challenge in the acquisition strategy is to identify mission demands, what mission needs, and turning them into something that you can actually go into the marketplace and procure.
Okay.
The people that know what the mission needs are, for instance, let's say we need explosive smelling dogs. It's a need. We buy them all the time. So there is someone in the field that says, we have 2 dogs and we need 4. Okay. So that's the mission need. But the person in the field, the one closest to it that truly understands what the ask is, what the dog needs to do, sadly isn't the person that's going to go buy it. So the transfer of knowledge from that individual, boots on the ground, hands in the stew, being able to articulate what those needs are to a third party that then has to take that third party knowledge and take it to the marketplace. It's really 2 handoffs that have to occur to make sure that the mission need actually shows up right as the right ask to industry. That's part one. Part two of that is market research coming the other way. The government may think, for instance, let's continue to use our puppy analogy, our dog analogy. The government may think that the best way to buy dogs is to buy adult dogs. So they go to the marketplace and says, we want 3-year-old dogs. Okay. But the marketplace may come back and tell them, we can provide you with 3-year-old dogs, but really the best way to buy dogs is to buy the puppy, okay, buy the puppy and train them, buy the 1-year-old dog and train them or have them mature in your system. So the marketplace informs the ask. It goes both ways. That's the value of the market research construct. That the market research is used by the government to mature the ask, mature the requirement, and market research comes the other way, that the industry has the ability to articulate the best way for the government to buy it. That's the value, in my opinion, of market research.
When I was watching your video, I was kind of wondering because you did discuss that a little bit, but you also mentioned a little bit about the cross communication between industry and government, which you also just brought up now. So I guess my question now is I'm trying to bundle 2 questions into one, so I'll just break it to 2 parts. One, how important is that cross communication during this process, and how can that lack of communication, I guess, really affect you in the pre-award process or just in the market research process in general.
Yeah, it's truly vital because the analogy that I often use is government requirements often start off as a block of Swiss cheese. Okay, it has holes in it. Okay, and you have to go through a process to fill the holes. You have this idea, and someone that's responsible, the subject matter expert or the representative for the end user, says, we got to go buy these dogs. But there are so many questions, Swiss holes in the Swiss cheese, that are yet to be answered so that the marketplace can actually effectively serve it, sell to it, provide the service. So the process going forward is to fill the Swiss cheese. That's why it's important. Why the exchange is important in the opposite way is there is something in that many in our community, they call risk pricing, meaning the less mature the understanding is of the ask of what the requirement is, industry is still going to respond to it and price it. But when they have unknowns, they'll price it as if it's unknown. They'll risk price it, meaning they'll put the maximum amount of flexibility into it, which often turns into dollars, to satisfy all the various solutions that could be in the range of options. Okay, so from one misstep, so from one hole to 100 holes, guess what they're going to price? They're going to price 100 holes because they don't know if it's going to be 2 holes or 57 holes. But it could be 100 holes. So guess what gets priced? The maximum risk gets priced. And as a result of that, the less the government shares, the less mature the requirements are, the more risk is interjected into the system. And as a result of that, the more industry has to guess, and the more risk pricing manifests itself in the deals.
So is this something that would lead to an agency level protest and having that much of a high risk?
I think agency level protest might be the nuclear option.
Okay.
But it does warrant questions going back to the government saying, please explain yourself.
Right. Okay?
Please help us mature the requirements so that we can respond to it effectively. One of the analogies that I often use is if someone is looking for a 2-wheeled mode of transportation, it's like we need transportation, but we can only use a 2-wheel mode of transportation. Think about all the things that are 2-wheel modes of transportation: scooters, bicycles, motorcycles, rocket motorcycles. It could be any of those things. So if you don't have a good understanding, one person can bid the scooter, one person will bid the bicycle, one person will bid the motorcycle, and then the first loser, the first person that says, what we really meant was we wanted bicycles. You didn't say bicycles. So the person that lost because they bidded a motorcycle, which is going to be way more expensive than a bicycle, they have grounds for questions. I won't go as far as to say protest, but they have grounds for questions. And the person that bid the scooter has grounds for questioning the system because they didn't have enough information to inform them that they were actually looking for bicycles, not scooters.
And so a lot of this is coming together as like communication is the biggest part.
The biggest, without question.
So how would you recommend, do you have any recommendations or advice for better communicating, any changes, or just really communicating outside of the RFP or the RFI process so that there aren't any questions? And I mean, maybe that's impossible, but
yeah, or at least a lower number. I won't say there won't be any questions. That's the process goes through to minimize the questions. But there are 2 ways, I think, early on, 2 on each side of the equation. 2 for government, 2 for industry. The 2 for government is to clearly or be able to articulate the user's journey. Okay, go talk to the dog handler, okay, and actually hear the story instead of trying to fake it. It's like, oh, we have an idea of what the dog handler needs. Go ask the dog handler. Okay, that's number 1. So document the user journey. That's number 1. And then number 2, have communication channels open for the exchange outside of the RFI. The RFI is the communication channel, but that's only one aspect of the activity that happens in the market research phase. There needs to be open channels of communication for people to talk. They can be managed, they can be structured, but it needs to be open. Okay, so more talking, and then go ask the end user, go do the user journey on what actually the demand signal is, what the mission need is on the government side. 2 things on private industry side. Be willing to do the homework about the mission and the mission needs of the programs. Okay. Private industry has to do some homework. It's not enough to just rely on the ask from the government. Okay. So here's an example. If you need detection dogs, what are we detecting? Is it explosives? Is it people? Is it, what is the thing in the mission that drives the need for detection dogs? Is it explosives? Is it nuclear? Is it, is it regular dynamite explosives? Is it C4? What is it? What is it about? You can go and do some examination of the organization, and that examination of the mission of the organization should inform you. If it's TSA, for instance, with the airports, you kind of have an idea of what they're looking for.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If it's DEA and it's drugs, you kind of have an idea of what they're looking for. Okay. Right. So just one question like that informs the environment. It says, drug dog versus explosive dog. Okay. Right. And then the training that goes on and whatever's downstream, whatever the value props for those 2 categories, simply by having a better understanding of your organization can inform your homework, which then will inform your response. That's number 1 on the industry side, asking more questions or having a better awareness of the mission. Number 2 on the industry side is always offering additional channels of communication. Okay, meaning in the RFI, when you respond to the RFI, effectively respond to the RFI, and in industry, you should never submit an RFI without saying, and if you'd like to have more information, we'd welcome the opportunity to sit down and talk with you.
It's like, Please let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, you're planting the seed for additional communication. If industry doesn't offer that, it takes the unique person on the government side to even think about doing that, because one would perceive it as being unfairly treated. Okay, that one person didn't ask for that and the other person did, or I'm going to go talk to one person and the other person doesn't. It could be construed as impartial treatment. Okay. So I'm suggesting is you always ask. If they take you up on the offer, then you offered. All they're doing is taking you up on your offer as part of your market research. And always under the guise of market research, we welcome the opportunity to come in and spend 30 minutes with you to have a conversation about X, Y, and Z. Like, okay. That's powerful. Here's the value of the second one. In open forums, no one will ever give you the secret sauce. If you have an industry participant that has an idea, they have the idea. Okay, they're not going to share it in a RFI. They're not going to share it in an industry day, surrounded by their peers and their competitors. Okay, but the one-on-one, the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with the government, they'll let the secret sauce fly. Okay. That's the way you capture that. So it's why you use the same channels, but you get different layers of information just by using the same channel. So I think industry should always offer to give more information in a one-on-one environment, because that's where you can if you got the secret sauce, that's where you can let it fly.
That's very interesting, because it's like, hold on until the best strategic moment.
Sure.
Because yeah, I guess that totally makes sense. So one thing that you hit on, it kind of made me think about like best policies or industry best practices when creating an RFP or an RFI. What would you say are some standard best practices or policies that are great to keep in mind, especially if someone's like new in the industry, and what do they want to really highlight and make stand out in that process?
So my first is going to leading back to my point I made earlier about not sharing the secret sauce. Mm-hmm. And I wholeheartedly agree. From a competitive industry environment, there are places to share and there's places not to share, but there are always places to leave breadcrumbs to what is the secret sauce. Okay, so when you even in a group environment, I would not miss an opportunity in an open forum around your competitor. I would not miss the opportunity to say, look, hey, we got something I think you might want to be interested in talking about. If you give us an opportunity to come in and talk to you, we're not going to share it in open forum, but please know, if you give us 20 minutes, we can blow your socks off. Okay. So being willing, one, you got to have the secret sauce. Okay. So you have to be well versed in your craft, whatever your craft is. Okay. Well versed in your craft and have designed something that is a differentiator in your marketplace. But then leaving the breadcrumbs, okay, finding the relationships and leaving the breadcrumbs that you let people know that, hey, if you want to take this journey, we've got some good stuff over here, but I would encourage you to take this journey. The second piece is, I believe industry has to start building relationships and communication channels when there's no requirement on the street. People get really sensitive, and their spidey sense gets to tingling when there's a deal on the street, when there's an RFI, even in the RFI stage, where no RFP there's no promise of an RFP, but you let an RFP hit the street, people get really tingling. Okay, the spidey sense goes up, and it's like, we better not talk and better not do this. We better not do that. They become very, very managed. So all of the things in my coaching practice, what I tell industry participants is build the relationships and find people to talk to before there's a requirement on the street. People are much more inclined to have a conversation when there's nothing to buy. Right. That time is available for you to learn about the mission, learn about the organization, learn about the things they're likely going to be buying. Okay, nothing's on the street yet, but you can draw some conclusions to what they're likely going to be buying, what technology they're leaning into, what things they're looking for, what's eating their lunch. Okay, you got a few questions right there. You can glean some insights from just a very few questions when nothing's on the street, but you can get a sense of where things will be going when they do.
I like the eating their lunch analogy.
On the point of eating lunch, I have this philosophy that I call vitamins versus Tylenol. Okay? Vitamins versus Tylenol. Every day someone wakes up, every day in government, someone wakes up, and on any given day, they're going to wake up with a pain, mission pain. Okay, it's not every day, but someday in the future, they're going to wake up with a headache, a backache, a neck ache, a knee ache, a foot, ankle. Okay, and what we as government, as industry professionals want to do is when they wake up with a headache, and it's like, oh man, I need a couple of Tylenol, that there's an immediate connection to, hey, there's some people over there, I remember, they sell Tylenol, don't they? Whatever my problem is. Now, that will be every day. Every day, people don't wake up with a problem every day. but there must be a constant drumbeat of knowledge and awareness that you do sell Tylenol, okay? That Walgreens has Tylenol. You don't go to Walgreens every day, okay? But when you need it, you know Walgreens sells Tylenol. The same construct in your business, where as you identify, as industry is identifying their targets, their agencies and organizations, they should be looking at organizations that will likely wake up and have a pain in the area that they sell Tylenol in. Okay. Now there's almost no selling when Tylenol is needed. There's almost no selling. It's like, oh, I'm in pain. I need pain relief. When the selling comes around is when you sell vitamins. Okay. Vitamins is like, I don't even know if they really work or not. It's like, you gotta go on the belief journey for vitamins. It's like, I can't really see and tell whether it's, is this thing really a hoax? Is it just placebos? You just don't know, because it's not a direct. You can't take something you can't take a vitamin and 20 minutes later you feel better. It just doesn't work that way. So as industry, we should be in the business of identifying what's the Tylenol that we sell in our businesses. So when people have acute pains, with no selling. You got to sell vitamins. You don't have to sell Tylenol. Tylenol sells itself.
Right.
So when we think about our business and we think about our solutions, think about the things that we offer to the marketplace, we want to make sure we clearly identify on the bottle the things that are Tylenol, because they don't need to be sold. All they have to do is wake up with the pain, and they're looking for your solution. If all we sell is vitamins, then we're selling every day. We're trying to convince someone to take this journey, and hopefully that the solution will help them.
So I guess this is like a good segue into small businesses, just from some of the conversations I've seen out in LinkedIn and stuff like that.
Yes.
How would small businesses identify what their Tylenol is? Because I've seen a lot of small businesses say that they struggle with finding these resources, or finding out what their pricing needs to be at, or anything that the medium to large businesses have. They're struggling to find that piece to make their solution. So what advice would you give for them?
Yeah, so I have a couple of things that come to mind. The first is clearly understanding your environment, your line of business, whatever your marketplace is, clearly understanding what are the pains in this marketplace. Okay. So let's say one sells accounting services, that you have an accountancy and you have an accounting service. What are the pains in that environment? And so now I'm not an accountant, but I know come late winter, early spring, tax season is among us. That's a pain. Okay, that's a demand signal that you can draw some conclusions that routinely in about February and March, they're going to have some people are going to wake up with some pains. So we should be prepared for that. In government, we know all of the audit cycles tend to happen on the fiscal year. We should put our goggles on, put our binoculars on, and look at our environments and see, can we identify just by mere observation, what are the pains in our business? That's number one. Number two is going back to that differentiator. What is our Tylenol? Really, what is our Tylenol?
Right.
Okay, if everybody has accountants, then there's no Tylenol. If it's just accountants, okay? If the value proposition is just having degreed accountants, then everybody can do that. That's not a differentiator. What is the differentiator that you bring to the market? Maybe they are master's degree accountants, okay? Maybe they have past experience at the Big Four, okay? There's got to be something. There's got to something that differentiates you from the crowd. I think that's probably the second way how you identify things that are Tylenol. And then the third is just go ask. Just go have conversations. This is back to communication.
Yep.
The strategy that I talk about all the time is going and finding your tribe. Okay. Before, when things were open and we would go to expos and conferences and things, you could go to the accountancy the accountancy expo. Okay. And you would find people. Here's my people. And I can walk amongst my people and ask them questions, and they'll have experts talking, and they'll have panels and all this stuff. You'll hear what the pains are. COVID the pandemic shut all that stuff down. But what has happened over the last 2 years post-pandemic is that those areas, those affinity groups, have been replicated online. So there are groups, there are accountancy groups. You go on LinkedIn, if you hit accountant, you probably have 5 or 10 groups of different types of accountant groups. Go find your tribe and live amongst your tribe. Okay, live in the tent with them. Okay, and then open your ears and keep your observations open. You'll hear their pains. You just stay around long enough. Okay, become part of the community, be a contributor. Don't stop trying to sell. Okay, but listen, okay, and be a contributor. You'll hear the pains. People will tell you what's ailing them. It's like, I got a rock in my shoe. Yeah. Tell me more about the rock in your shoe. Okay?
Right.
And then you can start defining the differentiators. What you start finding, what the routine pains are, the routine pebbles in the shoe. If you see the same pebbles showing up time and time and time again, every time you ask 5 people and then they got the same 5 pebbles in the shoe, you got something now. Okay.
That's
you're able to identify what a routine pain is, and then you start differentiating yourself on that aspect in the marketplace.
I love that. I'm just like sitting here and like your analogies and putting them all together. I'm like, oh wow, that does make sense. But it's true. Like you really just have to, I guess, put yourself out there, no matter in what place you're in. So what resources do you think are available to those who are maybe just getting started, or they're a smaller or medium business? What would you say that you've seen out there or that you know of that would really help them when first getting into the pre-award stage?
So it goes back to, Natasha, what we talked about earlier is communication. Building the relationships and building the communication. So the very first step is identifying your targets. Okay. What I often see is, and again, here's another analogy. What I often see is small businesses, we put a blindfold on them, we give them a shotgun, and they say, go shoot, go find targets. And they're just shooting all over. It's like, they're just trying to hit something. Okay. So now that strategy could work, but it has a high degree of luck and opportunistic. That's a very opportunistic strategy. And it's a high degree of luck into that. You may hit something, but it's not a high degree of confidence in that strategy. What I would prefer people do is to, one, have a clear understanding of self and what I or the firm or the company bring to the marketplace. Then go find the agencies, and you can look this up in the data. Okay, if you sell electrical engineering services, you can go look in the data, go find the next code or the PSC code for electrical engineering. Go look in the data, in the SAMS data, and you can see all the people that bought electrical engineering services before. Unlike in investment area, in this area, past performance is an indicator of future performance. Okay. All the investment people say, oh, yesterday has nothing to do with what we're going to do today or tomorrow, because they don't want to be held to what they did yesterday for tomorrow. I understand. I get it. But in our business, what they bought last year has a strong correlation to what they're going to build, what they're going to buy next year or this year. So you can look in the data, and the data can, to some degree, it's 80 to 90% levels of surety, can inform you on who has bought what you sell in the past. Okay, there's the strong correlation that if they've bought it in the past and it was part of their mission, not something unique, but it was part of their baseline mission, if the mission continues, that need continues too. Okay, so that's kind of the second piece. That's the second piece of information is doing the homework. Take the blindfold off. Give me the shotgun. I'm gonna give you a rifle. Okay, but they're going to identify targets for you to shoot at. Now you're shooting at targets. You're shooting rifle shots at informed targets based on data, based on past spend, instead of the rifle approach. Instead of the shotgun approach, just trying to hit something. Okay. So that's probably the second piece of information that I would say. Get very targeted. Use data to target your activity. And then the third is just to build the relationships. Go find the tribe and go live amongst the people that consume content in your space. Okay. If you sell ammunition, there's a place where the people that consume and talk about and think about and pontificate on ammunition, they live somewhere online.
Right.
Go find them. And go find them, join the community, okay? Join the community, live in the tent, open your eyes, open your ears, and just listen. Someone's going to say, you know what, this thing is just eating my lunch day in and day out. I'm tired of this. I don't know what's going on. I can't. I was like, oh, opportunity. Dun, 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 dun. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Simply listening, going into the community, whatever community that is, going into the community and just sitting down and listening, contributing where you can, be a value add to the contributor, not just a consumer, be a value add to the community, and you will hear the wants, pains, needs, and aspirations of the community. Those are also opportunities.
I just love that that you're making this all digestible. It's all like, I feel like I've been in this industry for 1,000 years, and I think I've told you this before too. Like you make things super, super exciting, and I always say that you have high energy. So how do you keep your high energy is my next question for you in this industry, and I think you told me a little bit about it on previous calls, but what inspired you to take the step to become the CEO of Think Acquisition?
Well, that's kind of you. There's a couple of things that sparked that energy. First, high energy. I've just been in situations where I've seen low energy people, and it's like I can't follow low energy people. It's like you got to believe in you before I get to believe in you. Okay, so as a result of that, I'm like, look, I believe in what I do and what I talk about because I did it. That's probably number one. I don't talk about things that I haven't done. Okay, I have 26 years of experience on the federal government side, 3 years of experience now on the private industry side, 2 and 3 years in the middle of that as a consultant. And all the things I talk about is I didn't go look at some YouTube videos somewhere or go read a book and now I'm an expert and now I'm just pontificating what I heard somewhere. Okay, this is stuff I have done and lived. So as a result of that, I'm extremely confident in what I believe. Okay, and I think those high degrees of confidence, because I have done it, contribute to my willingness to be high energy about it, because I believe it's valuable stuff. The second is I'm not a salesy person by nature. I don't think I have a sales bone in my body. So as a result of that, I have to attract the people I want to work with. Okay. So this is my strategy to attract the people that I want to work with. It's like I find my tribe, I live amongst them. Okay. I contribute to my community, and then I keep my eyes and ears open. Okay. And then whenever I can serve, I go and serve. But what I do is I attract the person that I come and do business with. This is the letting people know I sell Tylenol until the day they wake up with a toothache, and it's like, oh, need some Tylenol. Hey, remember that guy in the blue shirt? He sells Tylenol. Remember that? Yeah. Okay, let's go talk to him. That's kind of the model that I use to attract my tribe. You know, I go find them, and then I go play. Then I go play in my tribe, and then I try to be a good tribe member. Okay, try to be a good tribe member, and then attract the people that I want to do business with. And what that allows me to do is I have no cold sales calls, if you will. When someone reaches out, it's like, hey, let's go do business. I saw this, I saw that, I saw the video, I saw this, I want more of that, I want more of this. Okay, let's have a conversation. Now we're having a conversation, and the value of that conversation is it's not a race to zero from a competitive perspective. They are coming to find William Randolph and think acquisition. There's nowhere else on the planet where you can get William Randolph and think acquisition. So we don't have conversation. We don't have a lot of conversations about, oh, well, this person over here is $20 cheaper. Like, okay, go to that person over there. Okay, but if you want to interact with William Randolph, this is the environment that I have created. This is the value proposition I have created. If you find value in it, you know, I just told someone today, a lady sent me an email and said, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you. We're still processing, thinking about the coursework. I said, not a problem. We're not a salesy organization. I'm not going to be emailing you every other day asking you, have you made a decision yet? We believe we bring great value to the world, and we are good at what we do. We will wait until you believe the same. Okay? And when you believe the same, then we'll come and do business together. But until that time, you know, I'm not interested at all in doing cold sales calls. And she responded back. She said, you all do great, do value. We believe it already. We're just going through the processes. Okay. All right. We'll see you when you're done.
Yeah, I love that because it really speaks true to like when you're your own boss, you create your own environment and who you want to work with and who aligns with you, and that's how you can, you know, walk away from work feeling satisfied and not like, oh, like I have to go back to work again, because you're creating your job. So I love that. And Think Acquisition, I know there's a lot that you do with Think Acquisition, but a big part of it is coaching, correct?
Yes.
And so when you are coaching, you're essentially bringing up the newest generation of pricing professionals. So what do you think that you're doing to encourage their career growth, not only when you're coaching them, but after as well?
So I think there's a couple of things. First is being hyper-focused on customer experience. Hyper-focused, meaning when you are unlocking value for someone, don't unlock the value you think you need to bring to the marketplace. Unlock the value that the recipient wants. Okay, so it's a mindset shift, but there's been many times in our business where we just provide a service. Okay,
right.
And we also graded ourselves on how well we provided the service. Okay, it doesn't work that way. You don't get to provide the service and then tell people how well you provided the service. You provide the service, and then your customer, the recipient of the service, gets to decide how well you provided the service. So the first thing I would say to this community is go talk to your customers. What is it that they actually want? You may be giving them B, and they really wanted C. Okay, and it's like, look, every time I go to the window, I ring the doorbell, and they give me B. Okay. Instead of saying, hey, I see you come to the doorbell often. What is it that you're actually looking for here? How may we serve? It's like, well, I know y'all, I see the menu, and y'all have this thing called B on here, but I'd love a C. Hey, all right, let's go build some C's. Okay, let's go build some C's. So being informed by their customers, that's number one. So having a customer experience mindset. The second is honoring the craft. Okay, this is a unique job. This is a unique community. And as a result of that, I am just a believer that I owe this career field everything. So I am a big believer in honoring the craft, doing the work, preparing yourself, doing all of all of the activity to bring the best product to the marketplace, or the best product, or provide the best service you can inside your organization, inside the government, wherever you're doing pricing. Honor the craft. It's like, this is what I do, okay? And then as a result of that, do everything to be prepared to deliver that value and unlock that value as much as possible. And probably, if there had to be a third thing of what I want to talk to the community about, is don't fear technology.
Oh, yeah.
We're having a conversation. The battle is raging right now about automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, bots, all this stuff. And the the analogy that I use here is that it's not a replacement conversation. We're not going to be taking contract specialists, contract administrators, contract pricers out of the equation. I like to think of it as we are the Tony Starks of the world, and all the technology is our Iron Man suits. Okay, we still need Tony Stark inside of we need our Tony, our Tony and Tanya Starks inside of the suit. Okay, the suit just makes us better. It gives us additional capability. It enhances our ability to perform the craft. So this isn't a replacement. This isn't a robot. We're taking a human out and putting in a robot. We're taking the human and we're putting a robot around them to give them additional enhanced capability. We can't do it without the human. So that third message is embrace the technology and embrace it in such a fashion that it makes you the pricer, you the contracts professional. It enhances your capability instead of having a conversation about the bots are taking over. Like it's the Terminator model, that we're taking out all the humans and replacing them with robots.
Yeah, I think the robots will just make things faster, if anything.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to numbers, I mean, in this industry, numbers are everything. So you can never have too much help, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me on that one.
I don't think you can ever have too much help.
Okay.
That's why I see the system as additive. It's not replacing. It's the Iron Man suit. We still need Tony Stark inside to drive it.
I love Iron Man. I'm over here like, yes, I feel empowered, the Avengers. So what would you say in your career then have been some of the things that have had the biggest impact on you? Because, like you said, you're bringing up this new community of pricers, and there are these things that you want to encourage them to, don't be afraid of technology and stuff like that. So in your time, when you were coming up and coming, what impact on you?
Yeah, I had a couple of things. I had amazing mentors and coaches, literally amazing. So, and I'll put bosses in that category as well. Leaders, bosses, mentors, and coaches. I had amazing in my career. Okay, I can't look back. They all had varying degrees of capability, but all of them had amazing attributes. And what I did is I took bits and pieces of them to create who I am today. So I had amazing. And the overarching or the primary thread through all of them is that they gave me enough room to learn, but they didn't let any errors that I made be catastrophic. Okay, I call it, they gave me a helmet. So they let me say, feel free, run out there and run yourself into a brick wall. Okay, try some stuff. Do this, try that. You want to try this? Go ahead, feel free. Just make sure you put a helmet on. Okay, so that if you had a failure, and everything didn't go perfectly, but I didn't have any catastrophic failures that knocked me out of the game. Okay, that I either did something so huge that my career was lost forever, or I did something that was had good intentions, but was torpedoed a deal or something. Okay, they gave me the symbolic helmet to put on So they allowed me free reign to go off and do stuff and try stuff and do all kinds of activities. I know in my first 10 years of my career, I had 6 jobs. I was in the same organization. Okay.
Wow.
One organization, 6 different jobs, 10 years. Okay. And then it wasn't because I couldn't get along with 5 other teams while I had six jobs. It's because whenever there was something odd, different, challenging, new, I was like, ooh, let me try that. I want to try that. Can I go over there and be on that team? Can I try this? Can I do that? And what that allowed me to do is to be wide in my experience instead of deep. It was wide. I touched and seen. I saw a lot of things. That's what allowed me to be successful. So mentors, bosses, leaders, mentors, and coaches. That's number 1. Number 2, we talked about it in terms of the technology, but in my day and age, don't fear the math. Okay. Math was a very important aspect of our business. Okay. And we've got, and there are some in our community that's like, oh, they try to avoid math like the plague. It's like, don't fear the math. That's our business. That's who we are. That's an integral part of how we unlock value and make business relationships and make business arrangements. Okay. So you cannot fear the math. Number 3 is really about relationships. And it is, don't tick off anybody in the career. You'll see them again. The community is so small and insular that if you tick somebody off, you piss them off, it's like, okay, you'll get a reputation and you'll see them again. Again, the community, especially in the DC metro area where it's kind of, that's our Mecca. If at some point you got to go to Mecca, you got to go deploy the craft in the DC metro area. That's where our community lives. Okay. So, or at least the large nucleus of our community lives. And it's such a small community that if you do something, if you treat somebody wrong, you treat them unfairly, okay, or you're harsh, you got sharp elbows in a crowd, it will find you. It will find you. You'll tick somebody off. And then the 4th is everybody has a reputation, and most of them are very well deserved. Okay, everybody has one. So your ability to manage your reputation is of utmost importance. You should protect the honor of your reputation like your baby sister. Okay. It's just the ability to define, create, and protect the honor of your reputation is powerful because your reputation will precede you. More people, especially in our business. I remember the day when I was a contracting officer and my boss said, more people will recognize your signature than will recognize your face. And I was like, whoa.
Ooh.
Okay. So what that means is your signature becomes a logo, if you will, for the individual. Okay, because we signed stuff. This was back in the pen and ink days. You signed the thing, and then copies got sent all out. And so people saw your name and your signature. And I can remember it. I remember the day where I actually saw proof of it when someone said, oh, I saw someone. I was in the background, wasn't even watching. And it said, oh, Randolph chopped this. It's good. Send it on. Okay. Didn't even look at it. Okay. My name and my reputation had such presence and value that when they saw my name on the chop, they're like, yep, it's good. Go ahead. Send it on. Okay. So protecting our reputations are of vital importance. They are built over time and they are lost like a light switch. You can do one thing and you can lose your reputation. Light switch, just like that. So that's the kind of the 4th one. It's like protect, understand that everyone has a reputation and most of them are very well deserved. So therefore, you've got to protect them. You've got to cultivate them and protect them because they're literally made of gold.
I love that, especially the 4th one, because it just holds true to what I've seen so far with everybody that I've met in this industry. Even though we haven't met in person because it's, COVID, everybody's been super nice. They have a lot of people who say, oh yeah, like I know William, or I know Judy, or I know Soraya, and I love them. They did this, they did that, and they have 1,001 great things to say. Haven't heard of a bad apple yet, but it is such a small knit community, and everybody kind of supports everybody that deserves it.
Yeah, well, that's a very telling point, Natasha. I love what you just said. You said, I haven't heard the bad names. Just deconstruct your statement there for a second. When you aren't talked about, you aren't relevant. So now you'll hear the ones that go off totally go off the rails. They will be talked about, but
right.
it won't be in good characteristics.
Right.
So you're gonna hear the good names. You're gonna hear a big middle that you're never gonna hear people talk about because it's nothing worthy of the conversation.
Right.
Nothing worthy of the conversation. So that's why I say our community is so small, and we can have disagreements. I'm not saying don't have disagreements, don't have an opinion, because I have opinions on everything. Okay. But I am very careful to respect other people's opinions and have respect for other individuals. Okay, because the community is way too small.
And I see that.
All it takes is one.
Board. Yeah, and I see that across the board too. Like everybody's opinionated and they keep it neutral. Like everyone's like, I respect that, but I don't agree with that. Like
and you keep moving. Yeah,
yes.
and life goes on. And
yes,
I love that comedian that says, "But did you die?" That's his line. But something happens. But did you die? And I always say, hey, we can have a disagreement, but did we die? And the answer is no. If we don't die, we get to have a conversation, a relationship, and engage again. It's only when you start taking people out, and we have those in our community that you see them, okay, and they may be highly competent technically, but all you see is dead bodies in their wake because they don't know how to interact with people, okay? And that's the value. I think that's the differentiator in the space in this day and age is how you interact with people. How do you make people feel? There's this quote that says, people will forget what you say, people will forget what you do, but they will always remember how you make them feel.
Thanks for listening to ProPricer's Power Hour. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the strategies and best practices you can use to navigate your next RFP. Join us next time for the next episode of the Peer-to-Peer series. As always, you can head over to ProPricer.com and sign up to be included on our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time. This podcast was brought to you by ProPricer, the industry-leading government proposal pricing software built to produce solutions to maximize efficiency and accuracy. For more information about ProPricer and William Randolph, please visit our website at ProPricer.com.